right. Welcome, our friends, to another episode of the Daniel Teaches Experience. I am super excited to have on one of my good friends, Mr. Alex Chan. Alex, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well. Those that last week of school, I was like, let
hmm
me just get this over with. Let's make it to the
Oh yeah.
holidays. And now I'm just cruising, man. I'm just Netflixing and YouTubing, and I'm good. I'm relaxed now.
Me too, man. Me too. Truth be told, that last week was really tough, but now it's just no stress, which is fantastic.
How good do you feel, Alex, just like looking up at your calendar? Like I know you can like notice my calendar behind me where it's just free, nothing. There's no tests, there's no midterm, there's no project. Like how does it feel when you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, like, I've got nothing to do?
It feels fantastic, actually. It feels amazing. Um, I've always like felt during school that there's something that I'm not doing. You know that feeling? Like there's always something that you're not doing. And now, even now, I sort of feel that, and then I just have to remind myself, oh my God, I'm in winter break, you know? So it's great. It's great. I love
That's
it, man.
awesome.
Yeah, the last exam for me was the hardest, the statistics, but got through that one, got through it.
Yeah, same boat, man. Same boat. Stats is always one of those ones, man, where like when I'm going into it, I'm like, man, why do I have to learn this? But when you take a step back, you do understand the importance of it, right? Especially for
hmm
people like us. You know how people say, a study found that. Well, can you actually properly read a study, right? Can you look at its methods and analysis and figure out, oh, that's what you did, So I think it is important to know, even though I'm not a huge fan. I do think knowing the basic stats is a good thing.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it's important stuff.
Totally, man. Now let's talk about something a little bit more interesting, a little bit
Okay.
more exciting, and something that I actually wanted to get into, but I haven't gotten into it yet. Alex, you told me just before we started this podcast, you were playing chess last night with a friend. Tell me about chess.
Yes,
How
yes,
long have you
yes.
been playing chess for?
Well, my grandpa taught me the rules when I was a kid, maybe about 7 or 6, and I just knew the rules up until maybe about 3 years ago. I started to nerd out a little bit and look up some tactics or openings or you know little strategies here and there. And I played a friend that I had back in Cambodia, and we would play online. And then we both got really into it because we're both sort of competitive, right? So he would learn something, I would learn something, and we would bash it out. And then as school picked up, I sort of dropped it, and then 2020 happened, obviously, and I had so much time. And I picked up chess again, and I love it. I love it. I play every day. It's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun.
Every day?
Every day, man. Every day. I find time for it.
No, do you
hmm
just play online with your friend every day, or like you're not playing by yourself, are you? Or does that work too?
Well, I play with strangers on this website, chess.com. But it's not a sponsor, I promise. I
That's
promise.
so cool.
Uh,
That's wild.
yeah, yeah. And they match you up against strangers that are a similar level. So, you can play with somebody and have a good challenge, and it's a lot of fun.
That's good, man. I would
It's a lot of
have to
fun.
look into like the positive impacts that a game like chess would have on your brain and like on your functioning, right? Because you would think like to think
hmm
strategically about the rules in the game and what your opponent is going to do, it has to impact you like positively in some way, right? You would think. Maybe, or maybe
Yeah,
I'm just making that up because I didn't look into this. This is just off the top of my head.
yeah, man. Well, it's interesting. I think chess has almost that prestige where if someone's good at chess, people think that person is really smart. I don't know if that's true. I don't know you know, if you're good at chess, that means you're smart intellectually. But I think it is logic based game. It's like a puzzle, I suppose. But I notice it's more pattern recognition than others. If you do enough puzzles and you have a pattern recognition set, and that occurs during the game, it's like almost like memorization, where you just do the best move possible.
What's your favorite thing about chess?
Oh man, that's tough. I like the almost the aesthetic of it, and I love how complicated it can get within just maybe 8 moves or something, and then it gets more and more complicated, and it's at least for me it feels like a high tense movie, where your heart's beating and you're
Wow.
thinking, man, I really care about this. And then you're also thinking, why do I care about this? But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
What's been, Alex? What's been like the longest, hardest chess game? Like, was there ever one where you're sitting there for like an hour and 10 minutes? You're like, oh my god, like you're drenched with sweat, like not literally, but you're like, dude, I gotta get out of here.
Nothing really super memorable to be honest, but I did have a game with a friend where we would make a move a day.
A move a day?
Um, a move a day, but it was easy because we just went on the website, made a move, and then went to school or whatever, and then the next day did the same. But I forgot how that went.
Oh, I
Honestly,
was
you
gonna say,
probably
did
beat
you
me.
win? Oh, all right, man. I would have bet on you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome. Is it if you had to like recommend, would you recommend getting into chess, man, or not really? Is it just like getting into another board game, or no? Would you be like, you know what, it's worth looking into?
I think it's really worth looking into. I think it's really worth looking into. It teaches you a lot of things. Um, and if you're into that sort of thing, if you like strategy and you know, uh, you've had an uncle or grandpa maybe play chess, it might be fun. Might be a fun way to reconnect with them. So yeah, do you play chess, man?
Me and my friend, I haven't played chess in years.
Oh yeah.
I got taught the rules by someone, probably my parents, and I know the
Mm-hmm.
rules vaguely, but
Mm-hmm.
to be honest with you, the best memory I have of chess is this, and it's gonna sound a little ridiculous, but to my
Okay.
PC gamers, so there's a game on PC, and some of the
Mm-hmm.
youngsters might not know, but it's called Sims. And there's like Sims
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, and there's this one thing where like if you let your like person do an activity, he gets better at it. And I kept sending my person to do chess, and like you said, Alex, like his logic skill would increase and it like make him like more logical and sophisticated and smarter and a better person than other people who didn't play chess. All right, maybe not that last part, but still, it was dope. And I think like that's one of those games where I always think I love the connection that you made because when you think of chess, it has some prestige to it. It's elegant. I think of this fine board, maybe premium made. And you generally don't think about two people, I don't know, like out of shape and uneducated sitting there and just tossing. You think of like two posh, PhD, Cuban cigar, pushing, checkmate,
Yeah. It has that feeling about it, right?
right, hell yeah. Oh, dude, I
Um,
completely
mhm.
forgot. I didn't say this. Have you seen a Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
I have. It's a great show, I think.
How is it? Is it good? Because I just realized that that's about chess, right? And like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
nothing about it, and you're a chess player. What are your thoughts on that show?
Oh, it was great, man. And the thing is, whoever was their consultant for the actual chess scenes knew what they were talking about because it was real chess. Like you didn't see the board set up wrong. In some movies they have the board set up wrong.
Oh, yikes.
Um, but yeah, I know, right? I know, like a common mistake is that the queen and the king are in the wrong spot. It actually
Oh,
matters where they are. But and yeah, this show was awesome. It was really good. It was really really good. I was hooked from the beginning. It was great. I recommend it, man. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it.
awesome, buddy. I'll be playing chess and watching that by tonight then.
Do it, man. Do it. I You would love it. I think you would
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, that's sweet, man. Awesome. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Now, Alex, my friend, you've got this to completely just change gears. You've got this superpower. And when you first showed it to me, I was like, holy smokes. I've always heard about guys like you. I've seen them on YouTube, but I've never like I've only seen one in person. I had my cousin back in Europe, but to have you do it like in front of me, in front of a bunch of people in the cafeteria, and people are listening, they're like, Daniel, what did he do in front of you in front of a bunch of people? Don't worry, it's nothing bad. Alex, you do magic, man. That is so cool. I gotta ask, how did you get involved in magic? And at what point did you know, like, whoa, like I'm like it's not just like oh, that's cool, but like I really want to get good at this thing.
And well, first of all, I'm pretty flattered. Thank you.
You're
And
very welcome.
well, to be truth be told, it's not a miracle story, but it did start with a guy on TV, right? And he came on this game show and he blindfolded himself. They checked the blindfold was legit and everything, and he borrowed somebody else's deck that was shuffled, right? And they put it in his hand, and then he dealt one card at a time. And then he stopped and he put one card to the side. And then he did that four more times, right? So he had five cards laid out. And he turned it over and it was a royal flush. and I was so mind blown. I was watching I think I was 13. I had just moved here. I had just moved here and I was about 13, 12, 13, and I was mind blown. So the same day, I went out to PharmaSave up the road from here, and I bought a deck of cards, and I blindfolded myself, and I was just trying to think, how is this possible? And then I really just went down the rabbit hole. It's like the deeper I went, the more I didn't know, and then the more I knew, the more I didn't know, and it just kept growing and growing, and became an obsession at first. And I think a part of it was, being the new kid at, in a new country. You want to find a way to break the ice. Initially, it was about that, but now it's really become like, oh, I really love this art.
That's beautiful, man. How many hours, Alex, would you say you spent doing this?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Or how many years? We should say how many years?
How many years? Let's say about 7 or 8.
7 years. That's a
Mhm.
long time, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be 8. It's gonna be 8 soon.
Holy
Um,
shoot.
in fact, did you want to see something? I prepared a little something for you guys.
I would love to. Hey, for the people listening on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, I love you. If you want to see this amazing trick, please go to YouTube. The full thing's up. You can see the visuals of this amazing card trick. Go for it, Alex.
Perfect. There we go. I'm getting you some more views for the video, man.
Woo! Love it, baby. I'm excited. Oh man, this is sick.
So I'm sort of humbly sat here on the floor.
Mhm.
Perfect. Can you see this little pad?
Yep. Yep.
Perfect. Daniel, I
Mhm.
just want you to confirm for everybody watching that there's no setup. I didn't ask you to say something or go for a specific card. Like this is you have no idea what's about to happen.
Yeah, so for everybody watching and listening, I have no clue what's going to happen. This has not been
Right?
prearranged. I had no idea this was going to happen. I knew we were going to talk about magic. I didn't know we were going to
Hmm.
get an exclusive. I'm just looking at a deck of cards right now, and that's all I know.
Perfect. So I'm I'm almost gonna dedicate this trick to the story I told you. Okay, so it's
Mhm.
about locating a card. Um, Daniel, I want you to think of a card, but do it this way. Just think of the number first. Let that number formulate in your mind, and then think of the suit, club, heart, spade, or diamond. And then when you're ready, say the exact card that you're thinking of.
Wait, like say it out loud?
Yeah,
Okay. 10 of hearts.
the 10 of hearts. Is that a fair choice? You could have gone for the 2 of spades, the 3 of clubs. You went for the 10 of hearts.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna just go through the deck about, let's say, here, a random spot.
Mhm.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully, it's the 10.
Huh. Holy
Um,
shoot.
but Daniel, actually, that's not, I mean, the cards, maybe somehow I memorized exactly where every card was,
Wait,
or they're marked, or even though none of those things are the case, because the best part is that there is no deck of
that
cards.
is so crazy. Holy
That
shoot.
is the only card in the deck, and it's not like there's two cards stuck together or anything.
Oh,
And that
what the
is
hell?
crazy. And if you had went for the 9 of hearts or the jack of hearts, that would have gone completely wrong. So yeah, man, that's a little
Wow.
something for you.
Hey, so for everybody listening, basically, Alex had this deck, and I said, I'm thinking of the 10 of hearts, and he just picks out this random card in the middle, and it happens to be the 10 of hearts. Like, what are the chances, right? And the weird thing is, when he flips all the cards over, they're all blank, except the 10 of hearts. Now, people might say, oh, he put it in that specific place, or he knew, but how could he have known that I would have picked the 10 of hearts and not the 7 of spades, or not the 2 of clovers? So that is very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, well, doing what we do, being psychology students, I'm really right now actually, I'm really into that psychological mentalism, that sort of thing, that side of magic. I'm really into that right now.
That's dope, man. That's so sick, guys. One more time, if you're listening to this on just podcast form, I would highly recommend you come check this out on YouTube because I want you to see literally what I just saw. It was very fascinating. Dude, Alex, I gotta ask, man, having, one of the beauties of being in a psychology class with so many different people, they kind of have their different perspectives. Someone really wants to work with kids, someone wants to look into drug abuse. Having someone who is, maybe coming from this perspective of perception and, and your eyes, deceiving you
Mhm.
and with respects to magic, like, what is your outlook on like our psychology classes? I don't know if I worded that really well, but what I mean is, being a magician and going into psychology classes, like, what do you look to take away from those classes?
Man, that's a great question. And some psychology classes I might find, there are a few things that relate, but the one psychology class for me was perception, sensation and perception, and how the eye translates what it's seeing into the brain. And I felt like innately I understood that really well, but I didn't know the right terminologies, or I didn't know, what the theory was called. But I knew, like, I know, for example, if I hold this deck of cards up, your mind automatically fills that information. It's a deck of cards, there's 52, they
Mhm.
have faces, so there's no assumption that it could be a blank deck. And things like that in that class was really, really interesting, and I took some things away for sure. Um, but one thing I do really want to study is influence. If you could, like, psychologically influence somebody, that is interesting. And maybe I implanted the 10 of hearts into your mind since the beginning of the call. I don't know. You guys can rewind and look for it. Maybe I did. But I really want to study that, man. I don't know. What for you? Have you Is there like a psychology class that you took away, like, for real life purpose, where you could take that and just put it in your daily life, where you could analyze somebody, how people say that to you, oh, you're a psychology student, oh, don't analyze me, that sort of thing. Have you ever had that sort of skill set where you just pick it up from a class? For me, it's not quite like that, but what about for you?
That is a really good question, Alex. I would definitely have to say there are bits and pieces here and there. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
beauties of psychology, I just want to give a shout out to just that kind of program as a whole is look at me and you, Alex. We're both in psychology, and my takeaways always refer back to mental health and tips for anxiety and motivation. And then for you to just completely flip it and focus on, the perception, how the eye, its relationship with the brain and influence. It just shows you how two people can be studying the same thing, but there's so many vast areas in psychology. So I don't want people to think,
Mm-hmm.
if they come in, they have to study depression. Like, no, man, you don't. Like, there's so many things with neuroanatomy and social psychology and lifespan
Mm-hmm.
psychology, positive psychology. So I think that is a really, really cool thing that we highlighted just now. Because people hear me talk about like the mental health aspect a lot. But if there's people listening to this,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure they are, who aren't big on that and are really big on the things that you're talking about, like the brain and how that works, I think you hooked a lot of people with that. But to answer your question, Alex, I would definitely say there's parts where I hear a theory in class, and I think this was one of them was just in my first ever introductory like mental health and well-being classes, or I took a class recently on the fundamentals of clinical psychology, and I'm hearing these theories, and I can't help but think, okay, based on let's say what Freud said or this person said, how can you take what their theory and practically apply it to today's world? Like, how can I leave class, come home, make a
Mm-hmm.
YouTube video, and say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
based on what I learned, this is one thing that you can implement in your life right now that will
Mm-hmm.
positively impact you, right? Me telling you, hey, Freud did this and that and that and this, it's not as meaningful to someone who's never taken a psychology class before in their life. But
Yeah.
if I can, rip away what I believe is to be essential, like, hey, Freud had this interesting idea of the id and the ego, meaning just, hey, man, you have this part of you which really just wants pleasure. It wants to eat chocolate, run up a mountain, eat chips, and just, enjoy pleasurable activities. And then you have this other part of you that just wants to, make sure that you get your work done and, you're a good son and you're a good boyfriend, you take care of your responsibilities. So I feel like when I can break down those theories into real practical application that let's say a 13-year-old can understand, like that's my bread and butter, man. That's really what I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like I gotta write this down. This is so interesting.
Man, that's great. And dude, you should be a salesman. I'm just saying, you should be a salesman.
Oh
You could
man.
be a good salesman. But man, that's a good way to put it, and I think that's a good way to study too, of all things. Because if you go home and you make a video about it, it's like writing an essay. You're going to be knowledgeable about that thing, man. That's a, I don't know. Have you found that that's almost like a byproduct of making these videos where it's you're almost studying for it in a sense, right?
100%, man. 100%. I don't know
Yeah,
who said it, but they were like, man, if you can teach something, you know it.
yeah,
If I've ever
yeah.
avoided a topic, it's because I don't feel as competent about it, and I don't want to,
Hmm.
spread misinformation. So that's why I don't
Hmm.
talk about. I'm like, oh, well, Daniel, there's a reason you haven't made a video about, whatever,
Hmm.
action potential and neurons firing off. It's because you don't feel
Hmm.
as, you know what I mean? So, but definitely, man, I think you're 100% right. It definitely helps.
Cool, 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 man. That's pretty cool. And that's good that you're not, I see some people on YouTube where, they claim to know everything and they make a video about everything where they might not be so knowledgeable. But you probably being in university, you know, that's good that you know when to learn more about something and then come back. And that's really important, I think,
Oh,
especially in this
definitely.
day and age where you can send a link to 500 different people and you know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
100%, man. I'm an idiot. For anyone listening, like I am so dumb. Like I'm not even like BSing you folks. There's so much I don't know, and this was the Don Kruger effect, right? In psychology, it was
Hmm.
like the more you get involved in something, the more you realize how much you don't know. It's like imagine
Hmm.
you starting magic, and you're like, oh, this is pretty nice. This is pretty simple, and then you get 6 months in, you're like, holy shoot! Like there's so much involved, right? You can apply that to martial arts, you can apply that to an
Yeah.
instrument, to fishing, to almost anything. So I would completely agree with you, man.
Yeah. Wow. It's so funny you mentioned that because just recently I've been really feeling like, oh my God, this I'm out of my depth. I was studying something magic related and it got so complex, not really just a trick per se or an effect, but more of like a theoretical based how to perform well. And it gets into theater and it gets into all this stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, I should probably take a theater class at UVic, but or anywhere. Yeah,
That's interesting, man. That's interesting. There's a guy
yeah.
by the name of Jordan Belford. He was known as the Wolf of Wall Street, and there was this movie made about him starring Leonardo
Hmm.
DiCaprio. Have you seen it by any chance? Yeah,
Great movie. Great
great
movie.
movie, man. Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it. I
a
love it.
lot of cool cats in there. Jonah Hill was in there too, and
Hmm.
I caught this one line that Jordan Belford was saying, not in the movie, but the real guy. He was talking about learning a skill, and he basically said in the beginning, he called the individual unconsciously incompetent, meaning you
Hmm.
don't even know what you don't know. Like you don't even know
Hmm.
how much there is to learn until eventually you become unconsciously competent. Like you can do it with your eyes closed. Just like you said earlier in chess, you just make the best move. It's muscle memory. You're like, oh, obviously, it's everything
Hmm.
just clicks. It's like tying your shoes, right? You don't think about it. You can look away. You can think about what you're
Hmm.
gonna plan. You don't have to consciously think, all right, I'm gonna pull the string and pull the string and cross it. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And Alex, dude, I find this so fascinating. So for someone who starts getting into magic, right, and it's lots of perception and sleight of hand and logic and influence, how do you go from like showing a trick to me, like one person, and then showing it to, let's say, a group of 10 people, or could you imagine yourself like performing in front of like, I might be mistaken, but Alex, did you say you used to perform at like a restaurant, like a room full of people?
Well, yeah, I performed at a cafe, and
Cafe, yeah, yeah.
I really wanted to start increasing the venues, getting out of my comfort zone, and going from close up magic to sort of going more to stage and theater. And things were picking up, and then 2020 happened, but that's okay.
Mm.
That's okay. If anything, it's an opportunity to improve, be a bit more prepared. Um, but yeah, man, that's a great question. Uh, I've had moments, especially in the beginning, where it was really hard, and I got sort of pushed into performing for a classroom one time in high school where a teacher said, "Hey, wait, you're that magician or something, right? Come in." And he put me right in the middle of this class,
Whew.
and I was surrounded by a ring of people,
Holy
and
smokes.
I was so embarrassed that I said, "Oh no, you know what? It's okay," and I sort of ran out, right?
Mm.
But I've had moments now where I approach a group of people at university purposely. I put myself in that position, and it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun, and I sort of like that pressure. I like the group of 10, let's say, a bit more than one and one is great too because it's intimate, but like as a performer, it's gets you on your feet a bit, and It's good. I found it's good to sweat a little, be a bit nervous, get used to that crowd anxiety and all that. So, I've been pretty good at approaching people now. I've worked out a way to do it. Some people are just creeped out if I walk up to them and say, "Hey, can I show you something?" And then they're like, "Who are you? Get away from me." Yeah.
I'm sure the UVic campus is pretty good. You're not around, like downtown, be like, hey, can I show you something behind that tree over there? Like, whoa, man.
Yeah, whoa. Why are you unzipping your pants? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, hey,
But
listen, Alex. Okay, please, you continue your thought, and then I have a comment.
oh, sorry to interrupt.
No, don't be.
Well, at UVic, I found a card that I play all the time, and it's just, hey, I'm a psychology student, and I was wondering if I could do a quick psychology experiment on you for like 3 seconds. It's like where I implant something in your mind and see if it goes through. And people are interested, man. People are like, oh, what's that? And I sort of frame it as an experiment, really. And for example, the trick that you just saw, I would say, I'm trying to put a card into your head right now, and believe it or not, I've already done it. It's in your subconscious right now, and I just wanted to see if I got it right, And people eat it up for sure. And I'm not necessarily lying either, which is the best part. Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome, Alex. That's so awesome, brother. I have to go back to this gem. From being a guy who just ran out of that classroom, being like, nope, like I'm not going to perform, to now purposely going out of your way, putting yourself in
Mm-hmm.
those pressure situations to sweat a little on the adrenaline, and I might mess up, but I feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
How do you transition from that first guy to that second guy? Because there's many people listening to this who dream of being that you just said, to go up to people, whether it's asking out their crush, whether it's just doing what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing, whether it's magic related,
Mm-hmm.
anything performance related, but they're stuck in that first, running away from that and not feeling comfortable. Like, talk to me about that transition between that Alex and the one that I'm talking to right now.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, I've had some magician friends or magicians online that I know that ask me, how do you approach people and all that. And there's one simple rule that if you follow, it will happen for you, and that's just to do it. You just have to do it. You have to do it 1 time, 2 times, 5 times, 50 times, and then you get desensitized to it. That was my method. If you do that so often that going up to strangers isn't scary for you, it'll work. And set little goals, right? Don't dive into the deep end right away. Approach maybe one stranger that you think, they look kind, you sort of analyze them a little bit. Oh, they're not in a rush. They're just sat down at a park. You know, it's an old woman, feeding pigeons. And then, you just sit down and you say, hey, can I have a bit of your time? And what's the worst that can happen? You have to ask yourself that question. What's the worst that could happen? Let's just say a group of 10 people are watching and I mess up a magic trick and I'd be like, oh, you know what, man? This went terribly wrong. But can I try it again with you though? I think you'd be great for this. And that's it. And people don't remember it, people only remember the beginning and the end. So if you just got to come off really strong and you'll be great. You just have to set yourself little goals and you'll be there. That's what I'll say.
That is some amazing advice, my friend. And I'm so happy
Mhm.
that your answer is, because a lot of people hearing what you just said, just do it, are going to think, oh, yeah, that sounds cliche or duh. Like, there's a lot of people,
Mhm.
Alex, who I feel like they wait and they're ready for you to be like, all right, so I've got this magical pill, right? And when I take it, I become instantly more confident and I blah, blah. Like, it really is just super simple, but simple does not mean easy. Simple just means it's
Yeah.
straightforward. Simple means you just have to
Yeah.
do it. You know what you have to do, and you do it over and over again. And I love how you said it, because you're right. You do become desensitized, right? You make the uncomfortable
Mhm.
comfortable, and then you become better at it, and
Mhm.
that's how you improve. And I feel like a lot of people they're looking for this either shortcut or a way to avoid the pain and avoid the rejection and avoid the risk. Be completely honest, Alex. Is there a way to do what you do without ever messing up? Like, you've messed up in front of people before, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and that's the only way to get better. In fact, I almost want that to happen. If and I almost like sort of the friends that I have, they're real people, right? They're really down to earth people. And, back in the day when I was starting out, they'd be like, you know what, man, I saw that card in your hand. and they'd be like really, open about it.
Good,
And
good.
I loved it. I loved it. And so I knew at that time, okay, don't bring the card out at that time or whatever, or, don't have the exploding bunny appear at that moment of time. you know, just just stuff like that. And the more you mess up, the more not to do. And then the more that not to do means there's going to be less failures. That means more success. And it's just, honestly, man, you have to fail. I think, and that's for everything. I believe, at least at this moment of time, I believe that's for everything, whether it be any hobby that you have to fail.
I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree. This idea of,
Mhm.
avoiding that feeling of failure, it's not possible. Like failure,
It's
like
not
death is
possible.
inevitable. Like anything, right? In
Hmm.
relationships, at your work, things are going to come up
Hmm.
that aren't in your control. And I think just
Hmm.
embracing that failure, not, just saying, hey,
Hmm.
man, there's nothing I can do about it. So let me just accept it. Let me learn from it, right? Let me take the best that I can from it. And I think, Alex, you've got such a healthy and just monstrous attitude about it. And monstrous, I mean that in a super like beneficial way, and like you're gonna march forward, like you're gonna tear the
Thank
head
you, man.
off
Thank
this
you.
dummy that's called failure. Yes, because I think like failure cripples some people. It hurts their self-esteem. They kind of swell down
Mhm.
and they don't want to proceed because it doesn't feel as good. But some other people, man, even though it hurts, it doesn't feel good. It makes you take a step forward. It pushes you forward, and when you
Mhm.
do, it makes you greater than you were yesterday. And I feel like, Alex, you are a perfect example of a person who's continued to strive, who's continued to make mistakes, put in time, put in hours, is very humble and is open about it. And because of that, Alex, I'm very happy that people got to listen to you today. Because no matter what you're doing, whether it's magic related, mental health related, you name it, failure is going to be involved. And when you can, like my friend Alex here, learn to embrace the failure and welcome it, and hell, maybe even look forward to it. Because if you make a mistake, you can become better. I think that is such a more motivating mindset than like, oh God, I'm not going to do it because what if I fail?
Man, really well put. You know how to extract the psychological golden nuggets, that some people can take away from. And it's you I really think, if you want to succeed at something, and obviously I'm no expert, but at the end of the day, if you want to be good at a hobby, or if you want to be good at school or whatever, you just have to sit down and say to yourself, I'm going to fail no matter what, but can I take something away from that failure at the end of the day? It's all about the mindset, as as you know, as you know. But yeah, man, it's it's an interesting thing. Yeah, it's an interesting thing for sure. How just the way you look at something can change your life completely.
You said it, my friend. You absolutely said it. Alex, my friend, what is one
Mhm.
final thing that we want to leave the listeners or the viewers with? What is one final message?
One final message. I will say, go out there and fail today at least one time.
Love it. Straight,
Uh,
simple, to the point.
mhm.
Hell yeah, man. That's what I like to hear.
Thank you so much for having me on, man.
It was a pleasure, brother. Time flew by. I honest to God, I don't even know. How long have we been doing this for? Like 30 minutes, 40 minutes?
Oh my
That was
gosh, dude,
awesome.
that's crazy.
Right?
That felt really, really short.
I'm in the same boat,
That's
man. Hey, Alex, brother, for all the people who just fell in love listening to you and watching you on YouTube, where can they find you? What are some of your social media handles?
You could come on my Instagram. It's a dot Frieson-Chan, and you'll see how Frieson-Chan is spelled in the video.
Perfect. Awesome. Alex,
So
brother, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
thank you so much, brother. I'll catch up with you soon.
Yes, sir. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of the Daniel Experience. My name is Daniel, and this was Alex.